what is Web3? In a very simple way, can you explain that for us?
So Web3 kind of flips this economic model completely on its head by delivering ownership back to the creator. You will not only sort of consume, you will not only create, but you'll also be compensated for your consumption, for the time that you spent.
So, are you saying that there is a world in which I could get compensated for doom scrolling?
Yeah.
I think something to think about with AI coming into the workforce is how do you use it to get better
Yeah.
at what you do?
The AI itself is probably not going to replace people as much as people who know how to use it are going
Yeah.
to replace other
Yeah.
people. So I feel like
Welcome to this episode of Out of Syllabus with Anita Srinivasan. Today, she joins us as a lawyer who has a background in emerging tech over the last 1 decade. She has graduated from the National Law School, Bangalore, worked in the tech industry for several years, and now is on her way to UC Berkeley to complete her master's in law. We're so excited to have you here today, Anita. Thank you for joining us.
thanks for having me, Prerna.
So, can you just tell us a little bit more about how you have navigated your career over the last decade, where you have worked in law and tech and very different and upcoming fields?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting actually. I started out in corporate law in a very traditional role at a law firm. I spent most of my time working in capital markets transactions and M&A. And I did that for a few years, and I started to really get interested in the business behind some of the companies that were our clients. And I was primarily in the financial services sector. I got really interested in microfinance, in the idea of financial inclusion, and in the idea of there being a business case for serving the bottom of the pyramid. And that's what led me to pursue roles outside of the law. You know, I had this legal skill set. I still wanted to see like how far up the value chain I might be able to go and actually try and add value in a way that was sort of requiring a different skill set than what I was used to doing. And I found my way to a fintech that was building for financial inclusion called Kaleidofin. And I spent some time there as a generalist initially, eventually moving into product management, building tech solutions, inclusive finance solutions delivered through tech for bottom of the pyramid customers. And that was a very transformative experience, I would say, because I got a chance to work with a customer segment that was very different from what I was used to and the people that I was used to kind of working with. And that I was very passionate about that mission. And in the process of that, I started to realize that in these sort of heavily regulated spaces where tech is kind of trying to innovate and make an impact, sometimes the regulation or over-regulation or the lack of understanding at the upper echelons, if I might call it that, of the ground realities kind of leads to a situation where the tech is not able to kind of get enough breathing room to build the solution that's required for this customer segment. And so I started to move even further in the direction of emerging tech, and that's how I got interested in blockchain around 5 years ago. And a couple of years ago, I got a chance to move full-time into the Web3 space. It's been a wonderful experience.
Amazing. So you started in law and navigated a few different other roles before coming back to law.
Yeah.
But in a very different capacity, right?
Yeah.
So Anita was the legal counsel at
KGen,
right? Which is one of the foremost businesses in emerging tech today in India. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in my last role, we were essentially building decentralized ad tech for games. We started out, wanting to serve gaming companies more, but it applies across the board to any company that has a user acquisition or engagement goal. And essentially what we're trying to do is solve for issue of the lack of verifiability that comes with using traditional marketing systems like what Meta or Google ads would give you. There's a lot of botting that's involved, and a lot of gaming companies experience this, where they're kind of allocating a significant portion of their marketing budget to these platforms, and the audiences that they're getting are not always completely monetizable. So at KGen, what we were building was proof of human sort of concept, where every engagement or every acquisition metric that we were able to deliver for our clients who were working with us was backed by the fact that there are actual people behind this who are engaged, interested in the particular segment that the business was building towards, and therefore a higher likelihood of conversion and monetization. And we were doing this through an on-chain loyalty program, which basically allows the folks who are engaging with these businesses to be compensated for their time and skill through a digital loyalty program that was built completely on-chain, and that is the sort of the Web3 element of it. So I am super bullish on the the prospect of using this technology to kind of solve some of these problems that have historically been very pronounced, and I think will become even more pronounced with the advent of AI and further requirement of verifiability. So that was what we were doing. And as you rightly mentioned, I was a general counsel, and what that essentially involves is all things legal, product counseling, policy, corporate development, the scope of what I was looking at.
So, considering that you're working in a space where there's so much uncertainty and so many new things that are happening, I think as outsiders looking in, it can be very intimidating to us, whether it's me as an educator or a parent or a student. So before we proceed, I want to break down some of these concepts for the people tuned in, and I would like to ask you, what is Web3? In a very simple way, can you explain that for us?
Yeah, so I think this answer is sort of best delivered or best thought of as thinking of the internet as having been built in different stages. So we started out with Web 1, which is essentially the time when all we could do on the internet was read. So we would just consume, and then big tech, FANG if you want to call it, started sort of scaling, and then you have the phase of the internet which allowed you to read as well as write. So you could also post on social media and publish your thoughts, and read and write is kind of what Web 2 sort of encompassed.
Like early Tumblr days, MySpace, Orkut. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think the advent of all of that, and I don't think at the time we realized how much of value we are allowing these companies to create, but it all sort of gets centralized in these sort of few behemoths. And
because then it's all algorithm based, and they control what we see, what we consume.
Yeah, all the data that we've created essentially is now the IP of these companies. All right. You should think about it every time you post on Instagram. It's not your picture anymore.
I guess this is our IP, but happy to share it with FANG.
Yeah. So Web3 kind of flips this economic model completely on its head by delivering ownership back to the creator. So essentially that is it's sort of like an evolution of the internet, I would say.
Right.
Because essentially what Web3 the values of Web3 encompass are that you will not only sort of consume, you will not only create, but you'll also be compensated for your consumption, for the time that you've spent consuming as well as creating, and the engagement that you've driven to, or the value that you've created for whoever is consuming the content that you've created. So far, I think if you had to be a creator on any of these platforms, you're kind of dependent on them to pay you out in some sense.
Yeah.
And or for to create
a third party to compensate you for engaging with on that platform.
Exactly. So the idea of Web3 is to replace these centralized actors with decentralized systems, and by that we mean that this power, this value should not be accruing to these few mega players in the space, but everyone can be an owner of the protocol. That is, say for example, you have decentralized social media. There's something called Farcaster, which is quite similar to Twitter, except it's completely decentralized. So everyone who creates an account on Farcaster and participates on it also gets rewarded according to the kind of engagement that they create. And they're driving value to the protocol. They also get rewards that allows them to kind of, it's an investment in themselves, and they're able to feed back again into the protocol. So overall, as the protocol grows, you grow along with it. So in some some sense, Web3 and crypto, and the true idea of crypto was to create an alternative sort of token economics. It's almost called tokenomics, alternative economic model for projects to create value and then deliver value to their stakeholders. It's not then necessary for you to build a company, raise funding for it from venture capital, take it through multiple rounds of funding, take it to IPO, and then shareholders see the value or the early investors see the value. You can accelerate that process by creating buy-in on the project or on the protocol from your users itself. So that is essentially the world.
Are you saying that there is a world in which I could get compensated for doom scrolling?
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
my god, that would be amazing. If I could get paid to watch reels.
Yeah, it exists today.
Yeah.
It just it needs more adoption, and I think that's all of crypto's major focus right now is on driving mass adoption.
That's very interesting. So now that we know, what Web3 is, I think the conversation then becomes more approachable, because something as I see as an educator is we're very intimidated and we're very nervous about how to engage with the way industry is moving, right? So how did you navigate that journey for yourself? Because you moved from traditional law into blockchain law.
Yeah.
Essentially. So having been through that journey, can you share some tips with us?
Yeah, I don't know how many parents are going to like my answer, but I honestly owe a lot of it to being like terminally online and doom scrolling a lot. I think a better way to frame this would be just to stay curious about things that are happening around you all the time, because it's very easy, I think, especially my first job, I was stretched a lot. It was hard, but it was also very comfortable. And I was very conscious of the fact that, I was getting to a place where I knew, I was already 3 years into it. I knew in a few years I would be, very used to the lifestyle that it gave me, as well as, very used to being very good at something super niche, and therefore never having to, grapple with the thought that there may be some challenger in the future. But today we see that with AI. So I think the lesson in that is to always kind of be curious about like the changes that are happening around us, because you never know when and which incumbent could be challenged by some new tech or something.
Right.
So for me it was I was kind of extreme in some sense, because I wanted to move away from the law entirely, and eventually I found my way back looking for opportunities. As long as you're learning, I think it's fine. Just be doing a periodic audit of your career, of your skill set.
I think that's an interesting one.
Because people tend to not do that so frequently, or they don't tend to kind of introspect as much, and I think eventually it leads you to a point where you're doing something, you're very good at it, but you don't really like it. So or you feel like, you have regrets about, okay, what if I had tried something else, and you're no longer at a stage where you feel life happens, people get more responsibility and stuff like that. So I was kind of fortunate to have been able to kind of take that call earlier in my career, and I feel like something that's been constant throughout my career is I've always tried to follow my passion. And it's true that my passion has changed, and I've been passionate about different things at different points in my life.
Because I think one thing that we look at, when we look at the future of work, is that we are not monoliths anymore. So where you were speaking about, having one skill set, one niche skill set, I think even in our parents' generation, something that they're probably struggling with today also is that no one ever expected that there will be challenges in doing something that you're supposed to be good at, and you've spent many years and decades perfecting.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something that we kind of got faced head on with very early in our career.
Right? For sure.
Future proofing yourself goes hand in hand with being curious. And I think it's something I also tell myself before I tell my clients, in fact, that don't run away from the inevitable. Right. I think that's something I'm learning from what you're saying, that when you are approaching your work and you can foresee that there are changes coming in, engage with it head on.
Absolutely. Because I mean, honestly, especially, feel like this whole AI wave, the one thing that it's the message that is being delivered very strongly is that the AI itself is probably not going to replace people as much as people who know how to use it are going to
Yeah.
replace other
Yeah.
people. So I feel like the bar has gone way high compared to where it was before. In terms of, I think average talent will find it harder to compete because, and above average or like stellar talent will have the best time.
Yeah.
Because you're only as good, the AI is only as good as the person who's
Person using it.
using it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have
Absolutely.
definitely felt that. I feel like, in domains where I feel like I'm quite talented, I feel like I'm able to get outsized returns from using it, versus, where I'm just a noob. It helps me, do more than what I would have been able to do before, which is nothing. So it helps me get some output. But it's not going to be as good as it could be if I was, probably in the top 10% of that particular field. So I think it's always good not to be defeatist about this stuff, because I think, of course, the way that we're going to work is definitely going to change. And I think it's important for us to prepare. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I'm looking at it, when Web 2, as per your
Yeah.
definition of it, when we were engaging with Web 2, at that point, it was like so normal for us to, for example, say, write emails. We kind of grew up knowing how to write emails. It just came to us. But if I talk about the generation that was in the workforce at that point, for them, they had been trained how to write letters.
Yeah.
Right? So they were kind of struggling with how do I now move that format into writing an email, and maybe it's something that they resisted learning at that point of time. So today it's just that use case is on its head now, where we're writing prompts,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
And I think something to think about with AI coming into the workforce is how do you use it to get better
Yeah.
at what you do,
Yeah.
rather than how is it going to take your job.
Yeah.
So collaborate rather than compete with AI.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah,
right?
and I feel like I was saying, right, because the bar is so much higher than it was before. There's more of an expectation that talent will come in with proof of work, with prototypes that they've already built, with even attempts to scale or monetize to some degree. So resumes may not look like how they used to, and people
Right.
might want to come in with a portfolio or with
No matter which industry you're
yeah,
in.
regardless of which industry you're
as
in.
opposed to previously, where we've associated portfolios only with like art
Design,
streams
yeah,
and
correct.
like design related roles. Today, it could be about like, say for
Yeah.
you, use cases of where you've brought your legal knowledge.
Yeah, or maybe I build a tool that helps me be a faster, better lawyer, and I come with the tool to the workplace. So when I'm
Oh.
interviewing, potentially I could talk
And
about
that could be like your proprietary
Yeah.
asset, right?
Yeah.
That you
and I say that I'm actually as good as 3 people because I have this tool that helps me do all this work. Like,
wow, I would hire you, like for sure. And I think that's a very interesting way to think about the future of work. So what I'm understanding is that let's try and be a little more optimistic about what the future looks like, rather than running away from it and being so scared of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like if you're a student or you're just sort of embarking on your career, there couldn't be a better time to actually get involved in some of this stuff, because the way that software is being built is changing, especially, of course, if you're interested in STEM. But, all of that is changing. The way startups are being built, the way they're being evaluated, all of that is changing. The requirement for venture capital, depending on the scale of the problem that you're trying to solve, is also changing,
Because AI helps you scale faster.
exactly. Now you have AI assistants to help you code. Every software developer is now 10x as fast as they were before. You could potentially, as a solo founder, you could build something, scale it, show revenue, and that could be, you could get acquired, and then that could be your path to a great company to work at also.
Wow, I mean, I'm very excited by the possibilities right now, and I must say that, like, as an educator, it gets a little exhausting, right, to kind of keep navigating this ever evolving landscape, because we're preparing children for what, and we're not even sure of.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, we're working with master students, like yourself, who again have this huge uncertainty going into their degrees and wondering about ROI,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, as someone who's now going in for a master's themselves, do you think about ROI? And how do you think about it? What do you want to get out of your degree?
Yeah, actually, that's a really great question. So, for me, I actually made this decision wanting to solve for three things. I wanted to solve for location, I wanted a change of scene, I wanted to acquire a global brand, I wanted to be part of a global network. So those are the key things, honestly, for me, because it's also, I think, given the stage of where I am at in my career, I'm not doing this as early in my career. So the intent wasn't so much to go and specialize by learning specific subjects in the classroom, but it was to get access to resources that I wouldn't have, that I wouldn't have otherwise, and potentially leverage them, with the skill set that I've already built, maybe do something really cool. So yeah, so I felt like it was a no-brainer for me to do this, especially given how much I've been working in Bangalore for the last couple of years, and it really felt like drawn to spend some time in the valley for a couple of years. So it made
there's a natural progression from the Indian Silicon Valley to the Silicon Valley.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially at the time that I was applying, and over the last 6 months with the way that the space has been developing, I feel like it's truly an incredible time to be there and to see, sort of observe, not just observe, but also like participate in it. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I think that just probably you want to think through these sort of intangible benefits as well that could come from doing a degree. Of course, one part of it is education, one part of it is what could your career look like after you're done with this role, but there are sort of all these benefits as well, and that's what kind of moved the needle for me.
Right. So when we're thinking about education, when you did your undergraduate versus now going in for a master's, how are you also approaching industry differently?
Yeah, I think in my undergrad, also the Indian undergrad, I don't know, if it is the same across different schools, but mine was super rigorous, and
there's a curve, there's a spectrum.
But like I honestly felt like I didn't really have time to think for almost 4 years out of the 5 years, and I was just kind of trying to keep up with the program, and in India, I think it's very common for you to be guided by your seniors when you're doing an undergrad. And so I knew that I wanted to work in a corporate law firm, and I was kind of building up to that. And of course, it's very different, I think, now going into a master's, which I think it wouldn't have been as different if I was doing this much earlier in my career, if I was doing it right out of my undergrad. I feel like I would have still been in the same mold. But now that I'm doing it at this particular stage, I think I have sort of work experience, and I have lived experience to kind of base my expectations from this degree in. And that is, I think, also what I intend to achieve from this is I started out as a corporate lawyer, and through my work I pivoted more towards tech, and now I kind of want to brand myself as a tech lawyer.
Right. So I think it's an amalgamation of everything that you've kind of done now, and then it's like now kind of moving into that space more actively, right? So moving around these different fields and different industries over the last few years, was this journey intentional?
Yeah, I think to some degree I was definitely making an evaluation at every stage, every move. In some sense, I think the most intense evaluation was when I was kind of wanting to move away from the law. But moving back to it was a very easy decision to make. I think each time I was sort of thinking about, what about my current role was I not enjoying, or what did I want out of my work that I wasn't feeling fulfilled by in my current role, and I was trying to solve for that. I think it was some sense for me when I was trying to spend some time away from the law and more in business and product roles. I think it was also that I wanted to work in a role that would allow me to build myself and build my skills in a different way. And I wanted to be somewhat of a different person. A lot of the time what happens in law firms is there's so much emphasis on you being a good lawyer that nothing
and
else,
your hours and your billables,
exactly,
and all of
that nothing else really matters. And what I felt was I was a really good lawyer, but I knew eventually if I wanted to go down this path, I would also have to do business development. I would have to actually build my own book and bring in clients for the firm, and I didn't feel like the work that I was doing was actually building me up for that. My dad has actually worked in business his entire life, and so I was constantly comparing my career with his, and also the kind of person that I was seeing myself grow up to be with what I sort of idolized. And I was also looking at other sort of senior folks at the firm and thinking about, do I see myself doing this?
Do I really want to do this? Do I want to be that person 10 years down the line?
Yeah, or do I want to like build my legacy in capital markets? And the answer to that was no. So then it became a very easy decision for me to, okay, like
Let's
this
do
is
both.
not it. This is not it. So maybe it's something else. And I kind of I think early it's okay to sort of spend some time figuring it out.
Absolutely.
And eventually I think in 2020, when crypto was actually, the Supreme Court actually held that it's not illegal to hold cryptocurrency. And that was sort of a turning point for me to start looking at it seriously, because there seemed to be a legal and sort of rational basis for me to think about a career in this field if I was working in India. But I was quite intentional about wanting to work with the right founders, understanding that the space was very unstructured, and just wanting to have a good first experience in it. And I got really lucky with the place that I worked at most recently, because it gave me a super amazing exposure to the space, as well as the kind of work, the jurisdictions that I was able to work with and advise on, the kind of network I was able to build, the opportunities I got. So all that has been great. To me, moving into crypto, even though I thought about it for so long, and that was because I came from a very traditional background and mindset, it made a lot of sense because it kind of blended the securities law background that I had with my experience in fintech product management. So I just started to have and I think you will understand this or realize this about yourself, that when you're really passionate about something, you'll have a lot of views, and then you'll start to feel like, I don't have anyone to talk to about this, and that's when you sort of seeking out a community, and that usually comes with work.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, because I feel like I'm passionate about so many things in education, which is not necessarily under the umbrella of traditional education, right? And I think that's what I'm learning from our conversation as well, that there is a shift that's happening, and we all need to kind of ride that wave to see that things don't exist in isolation, right? So law is no longer just knowing legalese, right? Or education is no longer knowing school and college, right? It's about integrating industry. It's about integrating real life skills. It's about constantly learning. Resilience is a big one, right? Anticipating change. Right.
I think everything is super interdisciplinary. I think that is the way to kind of find a niche as well. So I would definitely say that, because I feel like in India it's now become very popular. I also did the 5-year undergrad, so you do law right out of school, and then you tend to get pigeonholed as a lawyer to some degree, and I guess that kind of makes it hard to think of yourself as doing anything else other than redlining contracts or whatever it is. But I think it's important to find domains that you're excited about, and see if you can contribute to something that excites you personally as well.
So I think coming back to the interdisciplinary bit, it's no longer an option, but it's almost mandatory for each person, whether we're currently working or we're thinking about working or studying. it's mandatory for us to think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because say coming back to AI, right? Earlier, like especially when we were growing up, I think we were told that, oh, you're either a science student, a commerce student, or an art student.
Yeah.
And never could I have imagined in 12th standard that I too would need to use technology so integratively with my work.
Yeah.
Right? But I think a huge part of how I'm engaging with AI, or educators are engaging with AI, is A, seeing how we can help our students learn better,
Yeah.
and B, being kind of like guiding star,
Yeah.
or the guiding light to our students to be like, this is the ethical use of AI.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is where it could be a learning aid, but this is where it's not ethical, and you're the one who's not going to get anything out of this process.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know. I think that is the challenge, I think, for educators, even I think at the college level, because using AI to that degree when you're trying to learn something is counterproductive. But I guess once you get to a point where, it's purely for like productivity purposes.
Or you're trying to scale something,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, it makes sense to kind of incorporate it and, be.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think there's so much scope in that space as well, honestly, that I can't think that I'm honestly jealous of kids right now that they're getting to, embark on their careers at this time when all of this is happening. Of course, there are challenges and I hear about them constantly. People reach out to me and they say that we hire these interns, they give us ChatGPT product and all of that. And that becomes challenging because there's questions about like, do you actually know this? And then I guess the counter to that is, in a world where AI exists, as long as you're able to leverage it effectively, does it really matter? Like I said before, you're only going to be as good with AI as you are. You're only going
Without
to be better
it.
with you're only going to be able to be better
Yeah.
as long
Yeah.
as you have some sort of base on your own. So I think I would caution students against using it, especially in the school level. I think it can be challenging to. It's like when we were in school, they would say that. You're not going to have a calculator all the time, so you need to be able to do math. But
Look how that turned
yeah,
out.
that turned out really badly.
But they had no way of knowing,
Yeah.
right? Our teachers had no way of knowing
Yeah.
that we wouldn't have a calculator at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. But I guess if you look at the folks who are actually building these models today, none of them would have used a calculator when they were growing up. So
I agree.
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
literally
Yeah.
like it's basically a spectrum of like how quickly do you want to self-select into sort of a different this thing.
So then coming to where students find themselves today, on one hand, they see the access to these tools and this technology that can make their life so much easier. And on the other hand, they're constantly being told, right, that you are going to work in an AI world, you are going to be, collaborating with AI. Even we are saying this right now. What advice do you give a student today, whether they're in school or college,
Yeah.
to kind of balance learning with AI tools?
I mean, I don't want to be like super cautionary and say use it sparingly, but I would say to use it in a way that helps you study. So, for example, Google has this really cool product called Notebook LM.
I love Notebook LM.
Yeah, you can like put your material and you can create a conversation between two people. And if you're an auditory learner, I think that is a cool way to learn.
Yeah.
So as long as it's kind of helping you learn better, I think it's probably a good investment to kind of spend time using it, but not to kind of, I would say, not to help you like with your assignments and stuff, because those
Yeah.
things exist to build that rigor in you, and also, I mean, it's a lot of things, I think.
Just to jump in,
Yeah.
I would compare it to saying that when we were in school, we used to have these firms that would do like holiday homework. I mean, they still exist. We know about it.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, because you know, clearly you were the one who did their holiday
Yeah.
homework themselves, right?
Yeah.
But there were these firms, so it's the same,
It's
right?
the
You're just
same thing.
outsourcing the learning.
Exactly.
So I think what I'm understanding is, don't outsource the learning part of it.
Yeah.
But if AI can help you learn better,
Yeah.
then
And give you back
definitely-
more of your time, which you can
Yeah.
again kind of put to a productive use.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
example, like, feel free to use YouTube and other learning aids.
Yeah.
Feel free to use different learning styles. Learn according to what works for you. But it doesn't mean that you're using those tools then to kind of submit your assignments
Exactly,
and do
yeah.
your tests and all of
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Because somewhere it'll catch up with you.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not, I mean, I feel like you also learn so much about yourself by doing
Yeah.
this stuff. So, for example, if you really wouldn't know that you liked writing assignments if you didn't write them.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know that about yourself, you might not consider like law as a career, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Or if I didn't actually do the writing assignments when I was a student, then maybe I didn't know that I could help other people write better.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
storytell,
Yeah.
which is what we do with our college applications.
Yeah.
So no, I think that's a very interesting perspective, and something that I also will think about after this conversation. I think to wrap up, Anita, I want to ask you that what do you see as a very essential skill set? Tomorrow you would be an employer, you would be looking to hire from the current batch of students. So what would you be looking for? And do you think those skill sets are taught today in school
Honestly,
or college? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's a lot missing from the school and college curriculum, and part of that is down to, I think, the emphasis on testing and the rigor that comes with that. And, there's a place for that, but I feel like there's not that much space for folks to kind of explore. And I mean, I guess it varies with different boards, and Prerna is the expert on that, so I'm not even going to try. But I definitely look for curiosity. I think that is one really important it's not even a skill, it's more like a trait
Yeah.
that I look for. Like, I look for traits because those are the things that you can't teach.
Yes.
Curiosity, agency. By agency, I mean, how much ownership have you taken over your own decisions?
So maybe where you can't be taught these things, but you
Yeah.
can learn it.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
Can
you
learn
can-
it if
you
you
can
are
learn it.
motivated.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can sort of build that sort of trait in you
Yeah.
by putting yourself in those
uncomfortable
positions.
situations
Yeah.
and then navigating
And
it.
navigating
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
resilience, I would say. So
Yeah.
I don't
think
know.
resilience is my top one for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Anita. I learned so much today from our conversation, and I really hope that the parents and students who are tuned in have also taken away something very interesting that will actually be valuable to them in
Yeah.
their learning and professional journeys. So
Thank you.
you for
Thank you
joining
so much.
us. Thank you.